All right, guys. So what we're going to be looking at is the last little bit. I'm going to have you guys make your own accessories for the ship. I've made my own little wheel here already. But as a way I would do it, right, I would first go find a bunch of references online, use PureRef to quickly drag and drop them. If I grab this here, now I can do ship wheel. Do find more references, drag and drop them over here, scale them a little better, right? Then you can either go to Photoshop or something, or you can hit Control D with PureRef to kind of draw out, kind of picking out how you would try to break up like the different references, right? So depending on the wheel you want, right, you would probably figure out that you'd start off with a cylinder, have it sideways, and then you could either use a pipe or another cylinder where you delete the sides to be able to make the other one. I'm not very good at drawing with my mouse, especially since it doesn't quite have a smart selection, right? So you would probably delete the sides and then extrude out to make this, and then you would then inset to get the extra like details here, right? So you would probably use like a offset for your extrude and then extrude it out type idea, bevel as you need. The spokes I would do as one full object, right? And then use the special duplicate to revolve it around, which is what I did over there, right? So you have three objects, right? And then obviously, depending on the base that you're looking at, right, will depend on which way you go about doing things, right? So I've taken a few examples of mixing, right? I kind of like went for like the one behind it, and then I used a little from like the one from the Pirates of the Caribbean here, right? Now this guy here, obviously I started with a cylinder and then worked my way backwards, but typically you could find like this, and then you would be like, okay, I've got like a regular square or rectangle, right? Breaking it up. If I were to do something like this lantern that I found references for, I would probably start with a cylinder for the base, cylinder for the top, or make them separate pieces, as well as a cylinder for the glass. The cap is also a cylinder, right? And then you would slowly add in medium and so start off blocking it in to get the default silhouette shape, and then work on your medium details, and then work on your smaller details as you go, right? Even this guy's technically round. You would add in probably just a simple extrude on like the four sides to give like the rebar the support edge there, right? You can find other things, right? Boat, very similar to how you made the larger boat. You can make a smaller boat if you wanted. I would suggest getting some dinghy, dinghy type references, right? And then you would slowly start off with like a simple cube, maybe delete the top and then move vertices around, and then extrude it out to give it thickness. A simple cube for the boards going across, maybe a rounded edge for the top here, right? Depending on how you did it, to kind of make like a seat. If I was going to do this cannon, right? Again, looking at the different pieces, you'd have like a cylinder with a bunch of different extrudes and bevels, and then you'd have at the very top maybe a sphere that you would combined after deleting one side of it, so that you can bridge it to the cylinder, right? Now, I would have this piece as a separate like piece going through, but you could technically add the supporting geometry to make it one piece if you like, and then have like bevels. That way, you could then eventually, if you were to do a unique texture inside of like Substance Painter, you would then you definitely want to go that route. That way, you can paint in like the welding and different things like that. For this clasp on top, right, you would have your cylinder. You basically delete two sides, probably, and then delete the bottom half. I would extrude out the top and bottom of the clasp that go so it can open up and down, and then extrude to give it some thickness, right? For this guy, I would start with a cube, right? So it'd probably be, in fact, let's grab this image here, right? I would probably make a cube, right? Although I'd probably only make it like the bottom part, right? So I'd have it come back this way. Then I would also then need the extra supporting edges so that I can extrude up the faces as I go about breaking it down, right? Depending on how you wanted to do it, right? So you do one side and then duplicate it to the other. Eventually, you'd add in more edges in here to also get in your rounded area there, right? Go down, so forth. Simple cylinder or pipe for primitives for these guys as well. The wheels aren't too complex on the Canon, right? And then this could either be for like the wedge, could be a cube that you bevel a few edges that and then you'd have it stick out to the bottom side too, right, to represent that it's locking the wheel in place. Ropes in that. Chains, chains I would use a Toros and then extrude it so that you have the little there, and then duplicate them around to go into the holes, right? So then these here would obviously be metal pieces, would be extra extra pieces, right? So Toros for like the links and that, and you would then have them crash into the thing or and that, right? So different ways of breaking down your models. Ropes themselves, though, would be using the sweep mesh, especially. You could also use the curve tool to make the knots and then sweep it around, right? Do the best as you can. Try to avoid as much crashing as you can when you're doing ropes, is what I suggest. Those are some of the more better examples, right? You can even try for like these type of lanterns if you wanted. Different windows, depending on which type of reference you grab, right? Or more or ornate, add a fence across the back here, right? So you would add a couple posts here going from the down below to go with your areas, right? Maybe work on adding a curved stair place, right? So you've got nice, simple stairs. You could even bevel them a little, like depending on what you needed, right? Even this guy here could use a single bevel for the stairs to make them look more like actual boards that you would have, right? Then I could add in like maybe a bit of a curve depending on, so it would follow my stuff a little better, right? Different ways to add more to your ship, right? Obviously, I've showed you guys already how to UV things, so it would still apply to the same for like all your round objects as well, right? Just create yourself a new set of UVs with a camera base. You can even technically use the front here as a way of saying, hey, this is where new material is too, so that way it doesn't look like it. And then I'll move this guy up here. I would probably choose the bottom. No, the player would see the bottom. I feel like the back, one of the sides would probably be best, depending on how you wanted to split up your materials, right? Or if you were doing it that way. I didn't want to cut that yet. All right, let's select that edge again. Use this here to control deselect and then just shift cut, right? UV shells, and then I'll click unfold. There. There's going to be a little bit of stretching this way, but that's perfectly fine. You could split it up more if you wanted to. You could even technically cut them this way if you wanted to have different colored felt for your blimp. Things like that. But with that, I'm going to leave you guys to finish up the air blimp using the skills that we've already kind of showcased, as well as to make your extra accessories. Right? I suggest finding references, breaking them down into simple shapes first, medium, and then adding in medium details. Slowly making yourself, too smaller, slowly making to smaller and smaller details as you go.